Today we are going to engage in a little bit of Schadenfreude. We are going to watch the CNN meltdown on election night and react to it in time and enjoy ourselves as they go from optimistic to depressed at the end of the evening. Beautiful thing to watch.
And here we go.
Two sources who are very familiar with the Harris campaign's internals have said they are confident about Michigan. They think that they have Michigan. They think they have Wisconsin. You get mixed reads on some of the other states. Some people say, we're going to be good in North Carolina. We're going to be good in Georgia, Nevada.
But overall, they're going to
win.
They
don't know yet, Wolf. They have to be patient. They don't know yet. She also has said that they can win without Pennsylvania. They want Pennsylvania, but if they get a Republican source of mine just texted me and said that his mother is a lifelong Iowan. She last voted for a Democrat in 1960. She voted for Donald Trump twice, but the source said after January 6th, she vowed to never support Trump again. She felt that not voting or a write-in vote would be a vote for Trump, so she voted for Vice President Harris.
And that is why we poured so many of our media resources into focusing in on January 6th, the fake insurrection, where nobody brought weapons to the Capitol and we're going to overthrow the government, the insurrection.
Interesting indeed.
Right.
I think honesty and integrity would be two really important factors in the candidates.
And
I agree.
as for you?
I agree.
I would go with that. I think honesty, integrity, and
totally.
Would you mind sharing with me who you voted for and why?
Trump, obviously.
I voted for Kamala Harris, and I'm super proud to the idea.
Wait a second. The woman that totally covered up Joe Biden's dementia that I was screaming about in 2019, that it was obvious and apparent. This woman that insisted that Joe Biden was the pinnacle of mental acuity is honesty and integrity. I'm slightly confused. Maybe I'm missing something.
The idea of the first ever woman being in the seat of the presidency is remarkable, and it's so exciting. And I think it's really important having daughter. We have another daughter that's home tonight, but these two to see this process and just know that there's no limits to what they can do in their lives.
No limits.
I'm so excited for these girls to see this election with a female on
what a soy boy.
the ballot and to have that.
United States, I'm Jake Tapper in the CNN Election Center. The very first presidential votes of 2024 are about to be posted. The American people deciding whether to elevate Vice President Kamala Harris to the top job or return former President Donald Trump to the White House. We're getting closer to the...
And the plurality, 36%, say they are scared if Trump is elected president.
And 100% of these 36% have a steady diet of solely CNN or MSNBC.
You see there, the bottom two add up to 50%.
Targeting Pennsylvania, I think that they're nervous. I think that his behavior in the final stretch of it, I think they recognize their closing message was nowhere where it needed to be. And some of the early projections we're seeing show a momentum that I think a lot of Americans are feeling, that this Trump era may be coming to an end.
You should be scared in Pennsylvania because there is an energy. There is a surge. Look, you talked to me a week ago, 2 weeks ago. I'm chewing my fingernails down to my elbows. I'm just worried. The Puerto Rican vote by itself has been lit on fire. Now, people will tell you, when this insult comment attacked Puerto Rico, she said it was like wildfire. She said people remember, Puerto Ricans culturally, they vote a lot. They vote a lot
more than any other race.
So there is a big tidal wave of Puerto Rican vote coming in Pennsylvania.
Could turn out to be the most.
The amazing thing is that they're trying to hold the Trump campaign responsible from a joke of an insult comic that actually represents what's really happening on the island of Puerto Rico, where the landfills are completely devoid of any open space. So the trash is just piling up. But that's what they are framing as racist and trying to use against Donald Trump. That's what they're left with. But there's a surge. There's a fire in the Puerto Rican community.
Expensive joke in history.
On the issue of Pennsylvania,
right now there are bomb threats that are shutting down polling stations. Threats in Georgia. That on top of the fact that
I think we have 1 million votes in from Florida about. Well, no, not 1 million. What do we have?
194,000.
194,000.
Yeah, you are. You're over a million.
Over a million votes. So this is
54% to 30%. Jake, 4 years ago, Joe Biden won independent voters in Georgia when he won the state by 9 points. So we've seen a swing of 20 points towards Trump in terms of the margin, from 9-point advantage 4 years ago with independents for Biden to now an 11-point advantage with independents for Trump in Georgia. Jake.
wow. David Chalian and Dana, that is really significant. We see some incremental. He's doing slightly better, but that independent swing is wild.
It's a huge swing, and I just want to underscore what David said. It is a bigger percentage of the vote share. Last time around, it was,
what the reason is that there would be this dramatic flip of double digits in independents, and I am something you don't often hear in election coverage. It's something of a loss.
Really? You're at a loss as to why independents who think independently, thus the name, might have flipped? Could it be the fact that we've had massive inflation raging throughout the country, making everything unaffordable, and that you want DEI to permeate every single institution while you mandate a vaccine for everybody to take that you promise is going to be safe and effective and neither prevents transmission nor you from contracting it, that you masked up 3-year-olds, that you shut down education for children, and still you think that the election should be close and that independents would be considering maybe, just maybe, voting for Joe Biden and the Democrats wasn't such a great idea? You think? Are you pretending to be confused, or are you truly just stupid?
To how you explain that independents would have gone so much more for Trump this time than they did for Biden last time.
Audie, hang on. We're going to go over.
They see North Carolina still very much in play, Jake.
All right, Abby. Thanks so much. Let's go to Caitlin Collins now in West Palm.
There are a lot of women and men who are dissatisfied with the fact that women don't have the ability to control their reproductive rights in America.
No, look, it's bad.
You can. You just choose to abstain from having sex. That totally closes the door on your reproductive rights. You have that choice.
I mean, the right track,
Please
wrong
subscribe.
track, we've known for some period of time. And the fact is the race, despite the fact that people are very unhappy for whatever reason with the way the country is going, is still,
and there are plenty more,
supposedly as tight as can be. So Kamala Harris is clearly going to be able to overcome that. Incidentally,
I'm joined now by a voter, Brian Flores. You just voted.
I did.
And who did you vote for?
For Harris.
And tell me about...
So I wasn't going to vote at all until my girlfriend was blowing up my phone telling me to go vote. And if I didn't, she was going to break up with me. So now I'm here.
Well, she asked you to vote for Harris.
She did.
Battleground state, where we do have some results right now, and you have a very narrow lead for Donald Trump, or that's, I guess, better than that. Lead for Donald Trump, 54,000 votes now. I say narrow and it grows. That's what happens on live television. You see that right there. But this is very, very early in the race. We have 7% estimated, but North Carolina and Georgia, critical battlegrounds. If Donald Trump wins North Carolina and Georgia, the vice president cannot win this race if she loses Pennsylvania. If he takes those two off the board, North Carolina and Georgia, she must win Pennsylvania. So
in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, democracy is the #1 issue for voters. Take a look. 33% of Pennsylvania voters say democracy is the most important issue. The economy's right up there, Jake, with 30%.
Would, if you would ostensibly be pretty good for Kamala Harris if democracy is the top issue, but the economy is right underneath that.
Yeah.
That, as they know, as we know.
The way they want. Kamala Harris tried to take advantage of that. She had Fat Joe. She had Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez campaigning in Puerto Rican areas of Pennsylvania.
So just take this. It's 20% estimated reporting. You'd rather be ahead than behind. But remember, we told you, always good to be ahead, but it's only 20%. And the expectation by the end of the night is Ohio turns back to red. But we want to look at the votes. Voters. Right now, the vice president has a lead. But again, we are very early on in the state of North Carolina, 59%.
Just want to bring you some CNN projections. CNN projects that Donald Trump will win the state of Florida with its 30 electoral votes, as expected. Donald Trump, CNN.
Right there, we have our first votes. Look at that in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. Again, only 3% of the vote in. But you'd rather be ahead from the beginning to the end if you can be.
Harris with a 187,924 vote lead. But it is very, very early. It's only 5%.
71%. Here, he's running a little bit behind the president. Again, there's more votes to be counted. But remember this as we go through the night, around states. Just one point I want to note as we look big picture. Last time we were here, just a few minutes ago, Ohio was blue. Ohio has turned red now. Donald Trump with a very narrow lead, but it's the trend as the election day votes start to come in.
She can make it up.
States that are reliably one color or the other, one party or the other, tend to go back to their DNA. Trump now narrowly ahead in Ohio. We'll keep an eye on that as we do it. So we have a long way to go. 60% for the vice president there right now. 72% for the president of the United States. If that number stays that way, that's a problem. That's a problem. If 73%, if you round that up in Washtenaw County, 61% or 60% actually, you can't round that up quite yet. So that's something to keep an eye on as we go forward. And I just want to come out 50% for the vice president right there. You come back in time, and 65% for the president of the United States. So as we go through battleground Michigan, it's early. It's early. So I'm not, this comparison is not in cement yet, but these are the places you want to watch. At the moment, in a couple of key places, that would be Ingham County and Washtenaw County, Jake, she's trailing the president. So she needs to, if you want to get your math up in Michigan, watch those in the hours ahead.
It's early in the night, and they're seeing any clear picture of where this race is headed just yet. For that reason, they are really focused on the battleground of Pennsylvania, because that really becomes the linchpin of a strategy to get to 270.
Focus
if they
is
get
the key to
Pennsylvania,
success.
the rest of the path becomes much more clear. So in Pennsylvania, though, I think what I am hearing is a lot of optimism. They're seeing good numbers out of Philadelphia. The local officials there are suggesting that Harris could exceed what Biden did in that city, and if she's able to do that, that would make, again, her path to winning that state much more clear, Jake.
All right. 61% of Wisconsin voters in this election disapprove of the job Joe Biden's doing. That's a hurdle that Kamala Harris is going to have to jump here in the Badger state.
This would have been a very different race if Joe Biden had stayed in it. I mean, if it ends with a Trump victory, and we have no idea how it's going to end, so don't misinterpret what I'm saying, but there's going to be a lot of finger pointing and recriminations and wondering. But these approval ratings for Joe Biden are brutal.
6 in 10
brutal
in Wisconsin say that they don't approve of the president. I mean, it is brutal, and there's no other way to look at it. And that is, no question, a big headwind for Kamala Harris.
But there hasn't been any dramatic change in this vote. They're both on track to 270.
Yeah.
It depends on states that are still not called.
It's a good point. This is pretty much where everybody expected the race to be at this point.
Totally
there are plenty of places with a lot of delegates that were not delegates, electoral votes that Democrats
one place that is a little bit of a surprise. It's a surprisingly close race in Virginia, which has gone blue since 2008 and Obama, the last 4 cycles. And if you remember, Trump in late October, had a rally there, and people went, "What's he doing in Virginia? That's a blue state." He's running.
That's true, but there's only half of the
I understand,
voting.
but it's 49-49 right now.
But John King set the table on that.
Pennsylvania, we cannot stress enough how critical Pennsylvania is that you're looking at right now is to Kamala Harris. Donald Trump, if things go the way that they traditionally go for a Republican, unlike 2020, he could win the White House without Pennsylvania. It is hard to see in most of these paths, Kamala Harris winning the White House without Pennsylvania. And you see there 68%. That's what she has now. It is still extremely early, only 13% in.
Right, and this is the point that Chris is making.
If you're a Republican, you might be saying, wow, this is a rout. If you're a Democrat, you might be saying, oh my goodness, we should be worried. No. We're early in the night. As Chris Wallace said, I love the analogy, nobody has broken serve yet. As in, should the Harris campaign be nervous? Both campaigns will be nervous about battleground North Carolina. It's going to go back and forth. But again, you see, and bring that up here right now, we're up to 68% of the vote in Georgia. And you have 53 to 46. So if you're in the Trump campaign, you're thinking with, more than 2/3 of the vote counted, you start to feel good about a lead that big, especially where the outstanding votes. And you see right there why in the Harris campaign, you're nervous, you're checking in with all your field captains and your precinct and your county people, but you see right there, you see those giant circles right there and a bigger circle, another big circle over here. There are still a lot of areas that we know vote disproportionately Democratic, where votes are to be counted in Georgia.
Pennsylvania, Kamala Harris has 60.4% of the vote. Donald Trump, 38.7%
She's still well ahead,
of the vote. Kamala Harris with a
ahead in Pennsylvania. She's going to take it down.
Vote win. Kamala Harris with a 284,000 plus vote win. Lead. 284,000 plus vote lead.
A win.
With an only.
She won. Kamala won. We got our first female president. Thank God, Jake. Your Freudian frickin' slip.
An estimated 19% of the vote in.
So if you're in the vice president's camp, You're a little nervous about that.
Let's bring in David Jolly.
Right? And look at the size of the blue circles. Again, doesn't mean the vice president's going to come back and win Georgia. It just means everybody take a breath and let's count votes. Because you see Atlanta and the suburbs, 38% of the vote. So a long way to go. Long way to go. Let's just compare it to the president. President Biden had 76%. Keep an eye on it. Don't panic yet if you're a Democrat.
Don't panic.
Keep an eye on that because
panic, guys.
the vice president needs to be as close to that as she can be. And at the moment, she's running a little bit behind that. That's 25% of the vote in, 66% if you round up, 32% for Donald Trump. So let's just go back in time knowing we have a long way to go. And Milwaukee sometimes reports late. But if you go back in time, Joe Biden again, 69%. Trump at 29%. So the 69% is what jumps out. Trump is a little above right now. Trump's a little above where he was 4 years ago. She's a little behind where the president was 4 years ago. It's only 25% of the vote. We're not pouring cement on any of this, but that's where you say, oh, we got to keep an eye on that as we go forward. Michigan. Let me come back for a second. See that?
I see it.
Stay that way,
I see it.
And it's early. It's early. Don't call your bookie.
Early.
Don't make any bets. Don't pop the champagne.
No
you see
champagne.
Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, right? Especially if you're looking at a map where North Carolina and Georgia are red at the moment. They're not done either. But if you're a Democrat, you're kind of a little, ooh, should we be nervous about this? Then you should be, wow, should we be optimistic about that? Or
totally.
I was already
blue
over
wall,
there
baby.
earlier. Let's come back
blue
out
wall.
and see. So the blue wall at the moment is blue. And the Sun Belt states, which used to be reliably red and are now battleground states at the moment, are red. The vice president's at 60% right now. So you go back in time. Again, this is, if you're the vice president's camp, he lost. Joe Biden lost North Carolina, getting 67% of the vote in Mecklenburg County. She, at the moment, is getting 60% of the vote. Is that meaningful? We don't know yet. We don't know yet. Again, if you're in the Harris campaign, especially because we're not done by any means. But if North Carolina and Georgia, Trump's ahead there, then you'd rather be the candidate ahead in the blue wall states. And at the moment, the vice president is 34%, a little more than a third
of the vote. Donald Trump has narrowed her 20,000 plus vote lead. He's at 49.2% of the vote. More votes have come in from the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. Tell us.
Yeah, I'm just getting off the phone with an official in North Carolina there. This official says, look, first and foremost, it's going to take some more time to get results from across North Carolina's 100 counties. He said this is going to be close. It's going to take some time.
Here, Joe Biden pocketed a net of about 200,000 votes last time.
Last time, a net of about 200,000 votes. Exactly the way to do the math. And we see right now, we're waiting for a whole lot of votes, right? And so she's at 61%. And he was at 67%. If it ends up that way, Donald Trump's going to win North Carolina. But there's that giant number of votes left out. Does that mean she's going to lose North Carolina? No. It just means that she's, we have to wait to see those votes. And then you can flip the question. And you want to improve your standing in the suburbs. And that includes women. Donald Trump spent, the Republicans are ripping their hair out the last week of the campaign every day watching Donald Trump insult women. Pick your day. It was Nancy Pelosi one day. It was the vice president of the United States every day. It was women writ large some of those days. Republicans
can't insult women. They're completely off limits. I mean, they want fairness and equality, but they're off limits to insult. So
strategists were ripping their hair out because they know if Donald Trump improves his standing in the suburbs, literally by half a point, then he's the next president of the United States. And they're ripping their hair out. But as you watch through this and we go through it, we'll see how it performs out. Are there enough votes out there for the candidate who's losing to catch up?
A lot of blue.
The answer is yes. There are enough votes out there for the candidate who's losing, the vice president, to catch up. That doesn't mean she will. It just comes down to as we get more votes. So Donald Trump has the same lead now, roughly 10 or 20,000 votes than he had in 2020. That does not mean Kamala Harris is going to win Georgia. It just means that she can. It just means that she can. It means that there's still math out there to do it. And we've lived through this before last time. So you look at that number and you say, oh, wow. Republicans, Donald Trump's going to win Georgia. Hang on. 81%. 20% of the vote is a lot of the vote, especially when what you're looking for, the votes that are outstanding, larger the circle if you're just joining us, the more live outstanding votes, the color of the circle, the way the votes inside those circle are coming in. So, Jake, you can look at this and you could say, you'd rather be Donald Trump and you'd be ahead, but there's plenty of opportunity for the vice president to make up that ground in battleground Georgia, Jake.
All right, John, and we have Wisconsin, Pennsylvania. Donald Trump in the lead there now. 50.3% of the vote in Pennsylvania.
No, that's not possible.
Has 48.
They were so confident about Pennsylvania.
Slight Harris lead to turn into something else. It's the surprise of the night so far. in terms of how close it is, but it just flipped blue. So let's come back in 20 minutes and go and see how we're doing. This is the most interesting one. Mr. Tapper's home state, the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, just flipped red. Remember earlier I was saying the 3 blue wall states had stayed blue throughout the night. We're not nowhere near the end. We are nowhere near the end. We're at 51%. We're not nowhere near the end. We are nowhere near the end. We're at 51% there. But you see that. So here we go. Battleground Pennsylvania. Again, one of these.
Yeah, but he just jumped up. He wasn't, she was leading there. John, I'm sorry to interrupt, but we have an update on the outstanding vote in Georgia. Can project that Donald Trump will win the state of Ohio. Ohio, as expected, will go to Donald Trump. Ohio with its 17 electoral votes. What does that mean for the...
And an interesting development. Again, it's early. We're still counting votes. But Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin, half an hour ago, were all still blue. Now Wisconsin has flipped to red only by 8,000 votes.
Only by 8,000 votes. No big deal.
Reporting. Over the weekend, she got a lot of attention for saying she was nauseously optimistic about Michigan. I was texting with her a little while ago. She says she's cautiously optimistic now, and I had to check. That's an upgrade. Cautiously optimistic.
Thank God it's an upgrade in the optimism department.
Optimistic, according to the Congresswoman. This is her district right here. This is 66% right now, if you round that up for the vice president, with 60% of the vote reporting. And again, 73% for Vice President Biden. If it ends up that way, that's a problem. Doesn't mean you can't make it up somewhere else, and it is. It's at 59% if you round up for the vice president. But again, go back in time. Danger zone. 65% for the president 4 years ago. How much over that? Commonwealth of Pennsylvania at the moment shaded red still. Again, we're not done, but for Donald Trump, that would be recreating the 2016 map. In counties you lose, can you at least be competitive? Can you at least pick up votes? She's at 33% in Beaver County. White, working class, blue collar workers. Joe Biden at 40%. That's a big difference. That's a big margin. Again, we're not done with the count. We're not done with the count there. That's 33% of the vote. There's a long way to go. But if you're in the vice president's campaign...
That's a 25% advantage for Trump among Latinos. That is a big change when Biden won Latinos in Michigan by 11 points 4 years ago. That's a 36-point swing in the margin.
Fascinating stuff, David Chalian. Thanks so much.
And yet, according to this exit poll, it shows that let's stick with Trump, that Trump is doing way better than he did 4 years ago with that very population.
You think? You think that telling a conservative family that maybe, just maybe, your child is not the sex he was born as, you try to confuse him with gender and transing him, and you think that maybe a conservative family might push back against you? Maybe. Who knows?
The Harris campaign, what are they telling you?
Yeah, Jake, let me just give you a gut check here about what we are hearing
gut check
here
does not sound good.
As we've been sitting here reporting from the Harris headquarters. And I think the operative word right now is silence. There's not a lot being said because the Harris team appears to be
the sound of silence.
Searching for bright spots in the map as these results very, very slowly come in.
Searching for spots and also very aware of the warning signs throughout the electorate in Virginia, in Iowa, in other places. I am told that Milwaukee and Detroit and Philadelphia, that is what the Harris campaign tonight is holding out hope for more votes to come in. They have always said the blue wall was the most straightforward path. Now it may be the best, not only at all, because Georgia is also something that is developing tonight.
Yeah, I mean, I hear from Harris aides that they feel good about Georgia, but it is very, very close. The blue wall still remains the best option for her in this moment. So that's just, Jake, where things stand right now. Usually, and I know you know this, as the night goes on, the campaign is trying to spin these numbers as they come out. Jeff and I have been sitting here reporting.
Spin these numbers. The operative word there is spin. That's all that the politicos do. And of course, CNN is in the political class, considering the fact that they're just paid shill propagandists for the Democrat Party.
Hours. There's been a slowdown in that spin because they really are digging into these numbers as they are coming in and trying to understand what's left out there for them, especially in these big urban centers. Jake?
Yeah, this is my 7th presidential election. I would observe that when campaigns go silent, that's generally not a positive sign.
Not a good sign.
Yeah, Jake, much livelier here, as you can hear. Donald Trump's favorite song, YMCA, is playing behind me. And certainly the audience here has gotten a lot livelier in just the last 45 minutes or so, Jake. We've been here for several hours, and that matches the feeling back at Mar-a-Lago, where we are hearing.
They're starting to feel even more optimistic than they were before. A lot of them are looking at those exit poll numbers. And
it gets frantic in campaign headquarters at this point of the night when you're trying to figure out, is the math possible? I would say as you pull it out, yes, the math is possible, but you'd rather be Donald Trump right now in Georgia than the. So to me, as I look at this map, the blue wall states become paramount, Jake.
Paramount.
Indeed. Voting.
Yeah, Jake, we actually just got a pretty significant update from the Harris campaign campaign manager, Jen O'Malley Dillon, who sent out a memo to her staff tonight laying out what they see ahead in the coming days and hours. And my colleague Jeff Zeleny is here with me. The memo essentially says, Jake, that the returns are coming in slowly. They still see their path, but that path is largely going to be through the blue wall, as Jeff and I were just discussing. Is that this is
we got the blue
race.
wall,
This
baby.
is the close race that
Blue
they have been
wall.
expecting. She says to her staff, we are built for this. Let's finish the night out. We will see you tomorrow. They are not
Sounds like
expecting
empty
this to be
rhetoric to
wrapped
me,
up
but
tonight.
hey,
They are not,
who knows?
because we have known all along our clearest path to 270 was through the blue wall states. And
This is a critical moment, I think, for the Harris campaign.
Critical third down.
To show where they get to 270. And Jake, it looks like they are not foreclosing really on anything in the map right now that is not called. They're still waiting for the polls to close in parts of the Sun Belt, for those results to come trickling in. But again, it's the blue wall again. It is.
I heard Jeff and Abby emphasizing, even the campaign, saying essentially they don't rule out any other possibilities, but we're really banking on the blue wall. Well, at the moment as we speak, 2 of the 3 blue wall states, that's Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, 2 of the 3 are red. We're not done. We're not
2
done,
of the 3.
but 2 of the 3
No,
are
they can
red.
get 'em
Why
back.
is that significant? If you're in the Harris campaign, you're calling all these counties and you're trying to figure out, how many votes are out, what percentage are we getting.
And what about all the makeshift votes that we pre-printed up and filled out? How are we going to get those into the fold?
But if you're looking at the North Carolina map, I'd rather be Donald Trump than the Vice President of the United States right now. So then you bring up 2024 is not 2020. There's not as many mail-in ballots. We won't have as many large percentages of Democratic votes coming in the days after. But Donald Trump was ahead by more than 200,000 votes at this point.
Sounds like
4 years ago. So let's just be cautious for the sake of being cautious. And yet, at the same excuse me, if that happens, Harris cannot lose that. Why can she not lose that?
She cannot
because
lose.
251 plus 19 makes Donald Trump president of the United States. So the rest of them wouldn't matter. I don't mean your votes don't matter in those other states. But in terms of the path to 270, if he holds those leads he has right now in those 2 states, which are healthy leads, she cannot afford to lose that.
No, she can't.
She
just can't do it. She cannot.
We've heard that it's gone incredibly smoothly here in Allegheny.
So this crew that works here on election day, they've gotten really good at this since 2020. I mean, we posted our first batch of approximately 186,000 mail-in ballots at 8:02. And, by law in PA, we're not allowed to post any results before 8 o'clock.
She's at 51. Joe Biden, 4 years ago, was at 54. That's a big deal. That's a big deal. They're approaching 70% reporting. All right, you come back in time. The president of the United States was getting over 81% in Philadelphia. Again, this is your biggest basket of votes. The Democratic coalition, this is the foundation. There's no house for Democrats without the foundation of Philadelphia. At the moment, she is underperforming the president of the United States, and she has to make up 178,000 votes. The math there is pretty clear. It's not mission impossible, but the more you get deeper into the count, the question is, after this next big batch of votes from Philadelphia, does it become mission improbable? I think is what you're looking for as we wait for more votes in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. Trump wins Pennsylvania, the map gets near impossible. Not impossible, but near impossible.
Hold that hope, baby.
37 or 38 if you want to round that up. That matters.
Oh my God,
that matters.
He almost shot almost 10 points. Right. 9 points.
Right. In a battleground state, he's up and she's down.
In Detroit. I mean, John. I mean, it's 2024. They only have 16% reported in Wayne County, home of Detroit.
One of the things you look for in life are consistency.
Death taxes. Wayne County comes in late.
Wayne County.
They're just looking for the opportunity to bring in the extra ballots that they have pre-printed. That's why they're being slow, perhaps.
Gary, Indiana, yeah, they're consistent. This is my 10th presidential election, and it's the 10th time you've been counting late in the night, and you're saying, hello, Detroit, hello. Yeah. It's the way it is. But, you see the Secretary of State's there, Jim is there. Again, that's nothing nefarious. It's just inefficiency, to your point about that we live in the technological age. And Jim just said, they changed the law in Michigan so you could count some of the early votes, beforehand, and then release them after the polls close. So it adds to the why. But right in, I want to pull that out to make sure I'm right. Yes, he's leading in all three of them now.
Oh wait, that changed while we were talking.
Yes, he's leading in all three of them now.
Oh wait,
he's winning Michigan.
That changed while we were talking. She was ahead in Michigan, and now she is no longer ahead. Now Donald Trump is in the lead right now. Not all the votes are counted, but right now he's leading in all three blue wall states,
plus North Carolina, plus Georgia, plus Arizona, plus Nevada.
What's going on
with the count?
Is Trump going to win the election?
But this is right now the map.
We're talking blue
That is
wall
the map of
here.
2016, and that is the 5-alarm fire.
That's the blue
the
wall
Harris campaign to get on the phone.
What's going on?
Again, we're not done, and we live through 2020. I want to say it again, slowly and clearly. 2020, this time of night, and there were states that changed, and they were largely, Pennsylvania changed. Trump was ahead. In Georgia, things have changed. There's not as many mail ballots out there as in 2020. So I would not expect as dramatic a swing.
And has a major projection.
The opportunity sheet has been decreased.
CNN projects that Donald Trump will win the state of North Carolina. This is the first of 7 battleground states that we're keeping an eye on, and we are calling it for Donald Trump. What is
this? Is fabulous.
Listen here, it's a bit of a delay, but your call is playing right now over the loudspeakers in the room, Jake. You can hear the party here, the partygoers gathered at the convention center here in West Palm Beach cheering as your call is coming on the screen. They have been glued to CNN for the last several moments.
Do you think that it would be reported in this depressive manner if it was good news for Kamala Harris? I think the answer is niet.
Now headed here tonight because he is predicting a bigger Republican margin in the House, a Republican takeover of the Senate, and he says he believes a Republican is going to win the White House, therefore Donald Trump, Jake. Obviously, still waiting to see, but a noticeable shift here in the mood at the Trump headquarters.
All right, North Carolina for Donald Trump.
This was the most probable pickup for Kamala Harris, if that was the world in which we were living. That is why Donald Trump went down there multiple times in the last 24, 48 hours of the campaign. And clearly did not happen for Kamala Harris.
Are you sad?
Trump.
Is Dana Bash sad? Oh my God, she is choking. She is choking with sadness. Cry. Please cry, Dana. I want to taste your salty tears.
People, I'm told, and just like we heard from Caitlin, that this is something that portends
depressing
well for the future. We don't know what it means for the other states, but what we do know is it's even more evidence that blue wall is the path.
The path.
Kamala Harris.
And that path is just more and more narrow. I think we're seeing as the night goes on. But also
right now, and look, there's a lot of voting and states to be called. But right at this moment, this does feel more like 2016 than 2020.
It is interesting, and the fact that Pennsylvania, Donald Trump is in the lead there with 51.2% of the vote. Kamala Harris has 47.7% of the vote. Donald Trump is ahead of her by more than 206,000 votes. That's with
Actually, Harris's only path is to come back in these three states right there. She has to come back in all three of them to have a reasonable path to 270 electoral votes, and it's a problem
reasonable
at the moment,
path. She's got to win all three.
So it's not impossible. I would say we're starting to lean into the improbable. And let's go over into Michigan. This is a state where you're 158,000 votes ahead, only halfway in Michigan. I mean, I hate to say it, but you're looking at this,
hate to say it.
That's the best of the three blue walls.
I hate to say it. If it was going good for Kamala Harris, it's lovely to say, but if it's bad, I hate to say it. But you're nonpartisan anchors, right?
Let's go to Wayne County right now. Let's go to
the math's getting really hard if you're trying to figure out can Harris come back in Wisconsin, and I would say simply that it comes down to that, and those Milwaukee precincts that are out better be gangbusters.
May I?
Auburn County, look at this. Trump getting 73% of the vote. He's improved.
Oh
Some
my
other
goodness.
places he's
Yeah.
overperformed.
Oh my
Other places
goodness.
he's
Oh my
overperformed
goodness.
himself.
Goodness
And then you
gracious.
move up. I want to show you
By the
something
way,
else.
can I just point out
Erie
that
has now flipped.
Erie, which has always voted with the presidential victor in Pennsylvania and nationally, is now with Trump.
Has flipped, and let's see where the turnout is.
Important information in Georgia I'm getting from Gabriel Sterling, the top election official there. The margin right now in Georgia is 118,000 votes, right? 100,000 votes are outstanding right now. This is what I'm being told from Gabriel Sterling. Now, he says the split will go marginally for Harris.
John, do you have any questions for Pamela?
You say the total outstanding votes is 100,000?
He said 100,000 votes out. Yep.
Well,
wait, if there's a 118,000 vote lead and 100,000 votes left to be counted, then if they go marginally for Harris, she can still win, right? I mean, that's the math. Or proposition, maybe Kamala Harris exudes 110% effort, 120% effort. That would get her to 120,000 votes. That's a possibility. Hold out hope for Kamala because she can do it with the help of a little thing called cheating.
And so I just gave you a little snapshot of where some of those places are. Chatham, Carroll, I asked, when are we going to find out these results from these counties? He did not have a timeline exactly for that, but hopefully soon.
But the significance, obviously, that Donald Trump right now has a margin of 118,838 votes, and you're saying there's 100,000 left.
If he's being literal, sometimes 100,000, they're getting calls from counties and they say 20,000, it's really 22.
Right.
Say 30,000, it could be 33.
John,
but if he's
can I just jump in?
Yes, please.
Actually, we asked about how do you know these numbers, and actually by law, they have to have it, the actual numbers. So I understand your point, but I think they do have more precise numbers based on what the law requests.
Interesting.
Well, then if that math sends a shockwave through the Harris case.
I think it's time to call Georgia, don't you, if that's the case? Unless we can operate at 120% effort, then we can still take it.
Campaign.
Yeah.
If that is literal, just even if she won them all, if there's 100,000 left, and she won them all, and she won't, he's 118,000
She
votes
said
ahead.
marginally for Harris, which means probably like 53-47 or something along those lines. Interesting. Well, we'll have the decision desk talk to the people in Georgia. Can I go?
We are now hearing from sources that Donald Trump is making plans to come over here. Obviously, they have to
go to Jake for a major projection.
That's right. We have another major projection for you now. And CNN can project that Georgia will go to Donald Trump. Georgia, a very highly contested battleground of 16 electoral votes.
The Sun Belt is basically gone, and they're looking at the blue wall, and they're still insisting that it is possible. But this is, again...
Are you going to cry, Dana? Please cry.
A very, very bad
Please
news.
cry on air.
Yeah, I mean, we went into the night...
Just add one other thing about what this Georgia projection means. What it means is that she's got to win Pennsylvania. If she doesn't win Pennsylvania, it's over.
Yeah, no, absolutely, especially with the fact that he is leading right now in the 5 battleground states that we have not called. He is leading in all 5 of them: Nevada, Arizona, Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania. Donald Trump widening his lead in the race to 270 electoral votes with this new win.
We still have votes to count. We still have states that have not been called yet. We will continue overnight to fight to make sure that every vote is counted.
And then some.
That every voice has spoken. So you won't hear from the vice president tonight.
No, because she's getting drunk.
And go HU and go Harris. Thank you all.
No, go Harris.
Cedric Richmond.
Into Howard University when there's a big crowd. That is not the sound of a big crowd there. That is not celebratory mood. And I think that was a tough kind of coming out conversation for Cedric Richmond.
Yeah. Everybody go home and we'll see what happens. And we will see what happens when we get the rest of the votes. But
yes, we will, Dana.
In the immortal words of Bob Dylan, you don't have to be a weatherman to know which way the wind is blowing.
Right.
And
if you just look at, for example, suburban women, they, according to the national polls, they went for Trump.
It seems like abortion was not the animating issue it was the way it was.
But part of democracy, and this is my major difference with Donald Trump, part of a democracy is to honor the will of the people, to honor its institutions. And I I imagine that that's what the vice president's going to do.
Really? Is that why you guys called Trump an illegitimate president, as Hillary Clinton did over and over, made up the Steele dossier to try to tie him in Russia, to lie continually about him from the fine people on both sides, folks, drinking bleach, doing everything you could to use your media apparatus to turn the public against the president and impeach him twice and try to assassinate him? Is that honoring the public?
When the final verdict comes in, if it's not a positive verdict. And I think there is a message in that.
It will be a positive verdict.
There is a message in that. And I think it's an important message.
Really? You're going to get it?
I hear what you're saying. And I do see it differently because I'm thinking about the people who are not a part of anybody's elite who are hurting tonight. There are African-American women who know a little bit about being talked down to, who know a little bit about having their economic dreams crushed, who tried to dream.
DEI, didn't that help you all? Affirmative action? What are you talking about?
A big dream over the past couple of months. Tonight
I
they're trading in a lot of hope for a lot of hurt.
I dreamed that somebody with a similar skin color to me would be elected president, and now I'm going to feel hurt that it didn't happen because we made it all about identity politics. Oh my God.
And they were hoping that maybe this time, one of their own could be seen as worthy.
Yeah.
And
she's the
once again, they're facing rejection. And that hurts.
God, you're such a pussy, Van Jones. You are such a pussy.
They thought tomorrow morning they're going to walk out with their shoulders back a little bit.
Well, you
maybe
can't
able to
do
breathe
that because,
for the first time and feel like they...
Somebody that's not going to really do anything for you, who just happens to have the same skin color as I mentioned previously, is not going to be elected. And that's a reason to be depressed because you've been told that everything in America is about race by those trying to divide Americans.
Belong someplace. They did everything that they knew how to do.
Yep.
And it's going to be harder than it should be tomorrow for them to hold their heads up. And they're not the only people who are hurting tonight. If you're a parent of a trans kid,
if you're the parent of a trans kid, then there's a 99% likelihood that you're a terrible parent, or that you sent your kid to the wrong school to be indoctrinated by the woke.
Your child's face was used as a springboard to power for somebody. That doesn't feel good. There are going to be people tomorrow who are going to be handing clothes at the dry cleaners to people who don't have papers. There are going to be people who are going to be cleaning your teeth tomorrow who don't have papers. And they're terrified tonight.
Maybe they shouldn't have come over the border illegally.
And so it's easy to blow this off. Oh, look at the elites. They're going to get their comeuppance. It's not the elite that's going to pay the price.
I really hope that
people
the elites do.
Woke up this morning with
the ones that lied about Donald Trump, the Steele dossier, all those elites that committed lawfare against him. Yeah, I do hope that they receive their comeuppance.
Dream and are going to bed with a nightmare. And those people didn't deserve to be respected and held and talked to.
An election held in the United States is a nightmare if your candidate doesn't win. This is why I don't respect Van Jones.
Those are the people who are going to pay the price for whatever Donald Trump decides to do.
Yeah, but Van, how do we know that those people didn't vote? A large portion of those people aren't part of the people that elected Donald Trump.
Well,
right? I think that's a good part of the electorate. And the black women, the Democratic Party, let those black women down. Not Donald Trump.
Dave,
we got to go.
Okay. The states we have not called yet. In Pennsylvania, Donald Trump in the lead there still, 51.1% of the vote.
But there's no way to get there without Pennsylvania, which is why that is absolutely critical that you win there. I just want to show. So you see, she's at 58% right there. Donald Trump at 39%. Again, you want the conversation that is going to start once these states are called, assuming we stay on the trajectory we are on, which the trajectory we are on, not there, we're not the finish line, but the trajectory we are on is an overwhelming Donald Trump victory in the Electoral College. The possibility of flipping back all three blue wall states, but he's having a problem. We're not done with all the vote counting yet, but she's underperforming President Biden from 4 years ago, where we have seen the Trump phenomenon in 2016 and 2020. It's with us again in 2024.
That face.
2024.
Yeah.
Thanks so much. We have a major projection in the battle for control of Congress. And CNN can now project that Republicans will win back control of the United States Senate.
Yep. Just one of many things that we would be talking about if Donald Trump does, in fact, win. We're not there yet. Jake?
So for the vice president, your priority is here. And you'll notice all three of those states are red. That's the so-called blue wall. The blue wall is ruby red at the moment, not done counting the votes.
It's all about the blue wall as we wait for a final verdict in the battlegrounds of Pennsylvania and Michigan. And
in addition to the blue wall, I just want to note, your eyes aren't playing with you at home. The so-called blue wall is deep red at the moment, and that is the vice president's biggest problem. Then essentially, welcome to Battleground, Pennsylvania. They are just running in a straight line across, but the red line has stayed on top all the way across. That's close, 51 to 48, but that's close. But
sad, isn't it?
She needs it to narrow even more. Just one different way to look at it.
The trials are probably over now, and the question is, will the tribulations be ours? So,
can I just say, by the way, like, this isn't the outcome I personally wanted. I'm happy with the decision I made not to support him. But you know what? I think Americans are going to accept the results of this. I think we're going to move forward. I don't think we're going to be storming the Capitol and spreading lies about our elections, because that's what you do if you care about democracy. I do want to.
Really, the same way as I mentioned that you developed the Steele dossier, that you tried to ruin Trump's presidency, attempted to assassinate him, lawfare him, the fact that in 2016 there was massive damage done and Antifa rioted. Yes, there's no history of this in the Democrat Party, is there?
Hit on one thing though. Abortion. We thought.
First of all, let's just note that I hope what he does is stand up and talk about the country and show grace and thanks. You say he should take a victory lap, but
I mean, he's been getting the shit kicked out of him for 4 years.
Yes, because
y'all tried to kill me, imprison me, bankrupt me, but you want me to show grace and to back off now that I have the reins of power. God, I hope that the elites get their comeuppance, as I stated moments ago.
He refused to accept the results of the last election because he helped instigate what we saw on January 6th. That's why he's been...
Go peacefully and patriotically and make your voices heard.
Taking what he's been taking. These are things of his own making, but that's in the past now. The people have made this judgment. The question is, what does he do now? And one of the things that has not been apparent is the ability to actually put others first and put the country first and not make it all about him. You heard the whole discussion about.
Yes, he braved the lawfare. He braved the assassination attempts that he could have predicted were going to arrive at his doorstep or his ear, because he cares about himself primarily. They wouldn't have gone after him with the lawfare had he not run.
He's going to remember who showed up and who left their campaign headquarters to be here and so on. These are not the instincts of a big leader. These are the instincts of these are selfish instincts. So, can he change?
Totally selfish.
At 78, we'll see.
I just think that I'm still absorbing all this. It's a lot. And I think when he steps out on the stage, we see him as like, America's next president. The world's looking too.
Yeah.
If you're a soldier in Ukraine looking at Russians being more and more aggressive, so I think this is a shock. It's a political realignment for sure. The Republican Party can now claim to be a multiracial working class party. That is a shock. But the policy implications for planet Earth are yet to be known.
King, those are the three blue wall states. They remain uncalled as of now, but Donald Trump leads in all three.
Right. Blue wall states uncalled, but the blue wall states are red as we get to approaching 2 a.m. in the morning. And we continue to count the votes. And you went through the margins. I mean, these are not insignificant margins. This is not 10 or 20,000 votes that a big county somewhere can. Where's the math? Is it at all possible? I would say it's very improbable. But the votes, most of the votes that are outstanding are, again, not going to say impossible, but I'm going to say highly improbable as you look at that. So then you move over to this one, the state of Michigan, is overperforming 2020.
Holy smokes.
There you go.
Holy smokes.
Go away and see if there's anything
on the east side.
Performing
anywhere.
Literally nothing?
She's such
literally
an awesome,
literally not
candidate.
one county?
By 3% or more. At least in the county right now. And so you come in full county there. So there you see, but that's states. Yeah. So in counties, in 58 counties, We just showed Donald Trump was over 1,000 counties of the 4,600 counties and townships across America. So if you do the full county level, there's where you see Harris at the moment. Again, there might be more out here in the West Coast, possible 1 or 2 more as they finish the count here.
Many of the communities that are most vulnerable and that are really afraid right now, the trans community, immigrants, people of color, even if there's polling or outcomes that are showing that some people of color voted for Donald Trump, you're worthy, you're visible.
They're just misguided.
You're not alone. And so you can feel what you feel right now, but we have to do work to protect the most vulnerable. So in moments when he does that, it's your responsibility to hold him accountable and not let him do that and not let him undermine the democracy. Because it is bigger than him. This is not his country. It's our country. He just happened to be most likely elected to run it for 4 years.
Projects that Donald Trump has been elected president, defeating Vice President Kamala Harris and making a political comeback unlike any in modern American politics. Now, we can make this projection now because CNN projects that Donald Trump has won Wisconsin. You can see right there, currently ahead by 30,000 votes with 99% of the vote in.
Beautiful.
Mr. Trump is only the second former president in U.S. history to be reelected to the White House. He will return to office after 2 impeachments in his first term, followed by unprecedented criminal indictments and felony convictions.
Let's make sure
Mr. Trump scoring a landmark victory as he now heads back to power, leading a politically divided nation. Again, CNN projects that Donald J. Trump is elected the 47th president of the United States. Let's go over to Casey and her panel now that we have projected a winner, Casey, in the presidential race.
We have indeed, John. The history this morning, 5:30 a.m. on Wednesday, that Donald Trump has won the presidency for a second time. This time after having served for 4 years, then disputing the 2020 election, and then, of course, rallying a mob to the Capitol to try to interrupt the peaceful transfer of power there.
I know that everyone here will soon be marching over to the Capitol building to peacefully and patriotically make your voices heard.
And Jeff Duncan, as we mark this moment, I want
to start by just a heartfelt congratulations or a sincere congratulations to Donald Trump. I've worked for 4 years to try to not elect him as a candidate for our party and also as president, but he's won the race and he's won it the hard way. I never would have thought we would have been here. I think tens of millions of Americans, including Republicans, never thought we would have been here. And you just add up all of the baggage along the way on the time in office and the time out of office. It's uncomfortable for somebody like me who is a lifelong conservative to watch this happen.
Solving problems. What concerns me is I don't think he cares about really solving problems except for the most expedient one of not going to jail, basically.
Right. That's
when he was talking about tariffs, what have we heard that's going to bring inflation back?
Somehow I don't believe that this woman knows a thing about tariffs or economics. She's just repeating the talking points that she hears over and over on her leftist outlets.
Back up. It's going to be bad for the economy and bad for jobs. So even some of the things, if he enacts some of the things he's talked about, mass deportations, what is that going to mean in the day-to-day lives in our country and the damage that could do? And I hear what folks are saying about, I agree, America, this is what you want, this is what you got, this is who you are. And yet we will have to live with the consequences if he does plan to and actually move forward on enacting. We could have a national abortion ban. Women are going to have to.
Despite the fact that he promised and stated over and over that should such a thing reach his desk, that he would veto it. Really? Is that the cope that you're going to try to fearmonger the American people with?
Deal with it.
One of the things that we also need to reflect on is Donald Trump is a very, very, very flawed man.
Oh, yeah. This is the black simile, where you can merely substitute one black man in for another. Ignorant Don Lemon was replaced with Bakari Sellers.
And I don't think that can be lost on where we are today. I mean, you literally have someone who I don't want to run down the resume of who Donald Trump is in terms of the felonies and, inciting an insurrection and criminal charges that most likely.
Inciting an insurrection. You see how CNN continues to issue the same propagandistic talking points. Insurrection, brought by those who forgot to bring weapons to the Capitol to overthrow the government. That's what you're calling insurrection. When he again said, go peacefully and patriotically and make your voices heard. Please, Don Lemon, Bakari Sellers, Black Simile.
Now will go away because he now controls the Department of Justice, or, you know, the things with Stormy Daniels, or all of these things that are kind of baked into the cake. But as a country, you asked a very big question, Casey. We became numb to the lack of character that is Donald Trump. And
we became numb to the propagandistic talking points that you guys continually spew out to try to scare and fearmonger with Americans.
It's fascinating to me, and that's what I don't necessarily understand. Somebody's going to have to explain to me, particularly the white male evangelical, and what we saw today were white women come out. I think that the missed bet for Kamala Harris was betting that white women would support her in a way unlike how we felt.
Maybe white women just have some level of intelligence as long as we're going identity politics. They didn't want to support somebody that is dumber than the majority of them. Yeah, Kamala Harris is D-U-M-B, dumb.
They left Hillary Clinton at the altar in 2016. We thought that was going to be vastly different, but in fact it wasn't. Rural white women, college-educated white women, suburban white women, all those white women we thought in those wild counties that Phil were talking about, they just didn't come home. And the question is, when you have someone who is as fundamentally flawed, there is no one around this table, there is no one who literally with good common sense would say, I want my child to grow up and be like Donald Trump.
But common sense, I would love it if my kid were to grow up and be like Donald Trump. Successful, smart, funny, brave, stands up to those who are trying to destroy him. Yeah, I think that Donald Trump has a tremendous number of great qualities.
But I think
and we literally have one of the most fundamentally flawed men that we've ever put in a position of power back there again.
Public, they were confident. They thought, David Plouffe said, they thought they could win all 6 or 7 swing states, and yet here we are.
Yeah, well, I guess y'all were wrong.
Aaron, I've been talking to allies of the vice president and sources close to the campaign over the course of the morning, including in the early morning hours, and they are in a state of shock and disbelief. Just to give you a sense of some of what I'm hearing, one source telling me that their, quote, stomach is in knots, another telling me it felt, quote, terrible, and another just describing the mood among campaign officials as, quote, gloomy. And it was Pennsylvania and the results that came in Pennsylvania that was really the nail in the coffin. This source also saying bluntly,
let's stab Democrat Dracula in the heart.
The caveats, one. Now,
and there needs to be discussion among Democrats. So,
well, look, we spent $1 billion and elected Donald Trump. That's not a blame game. That's called accountability. And the people at the top of the campaign, the top of the party, have a lot of people pissed off at him because there were people who had suggestions. There were people who were saying, why are we doing this? Why this? It was like, hey, we've got it. We've got this special magical computer formulation. We've tested every ad. Shut up and sit down and go back to work. And so people said, okay, well, I guess you're right. And then we got clobbered, knocked down, beat up, drugged down. And so people are mad, and they should be mad. And the people at the top are going to have to listen. There is a grassroots rebellion happening in this party, and it's coming to knock on the door of the people who are in charge of the party. That's not blame game. That's accountability. 75 is the wrong track measure. That's very high. So she had a tough hill to climb. I think that she did as well as you could possibly do, but she had a bunch of people running that campaign who did not listen, who were very arrogant, who sucked up $1 billion, who pissed off a lot of people, and you're going to be hearing about it for a long time.
A lot of people.
My friends, that was absolutely delicious to relive Donald Trump's victory as reported by the woke cognoscentes at CNN, with Van Jones and Dana Bash ready to cry, with every single anchor being disappointed, and them trying to present themselves as a neutral network. Donald Trump survived 2 assassination attempts, lawfare, the ire of the Democrat Party, and the media trying to proclaim instantaneously that somebody that before they had denigrated, Kamala Harris, was the second coming of Barack Obama or Jesus Christ or Buddha combined. Joy, bring the joy. Now, we should all be rooting for Donald Trump to do an outstanding job as president of America to improve your economic prosperity by virtue of giving you the opportunity and lowering prices and to make America great again. I took a tremendous schadenfreude, especially as an ex-Democrat, at what took place on this television network. Please thumb up this video, share it with a friend, and subscribe. I'll be coming out with maybe 1 or 2 more of these election nights just because I actually really do enjoy watching the anchors cry. Peace and blessings.